Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Baseball Bums. I am Benny Scala, a.k.a. The Player. Now, you may know me from that low-budget adult film, He's Holding His Own.
Hopefully not with tweezers.
Yeah, right. And if we are bums, then I am joined by the nobleman of no goodery, the great Jimmy Farrow. Jimmy, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm feeling quite noble. A little run down from running all over the place, but you know that feeling.
Been a long day.
Making that wide turn around third base, but this catcher's going to get knocked the F over. I'm coming for home.
There you go. Well, Jimmy, you know, Bumball Metrics is now the latest sensation that's sweeping the nation. We're really going to put it to the test one more time as the defending champion 1998 New York Yankees take on the 1929 Philadelphia Athletics, the 1970 Baltimore Orioles, and the 1984 Detroit Tigers. I think those are three pretty formidable foes, no?
Absolutely. The A's, well, wow. I was just reading up a little bit more on the Philadelphia A's. 1901 to 1954, they existed there, and they won 5 championships, 3 early ones. And in the early days, they were a real powerhouse. But we'll get to them. I do suspect we might have some other subjects before we get to our head-to-head. So I'll save most of my stuff for when we do the head-to-head.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, we do actually. And so before we get going, I want to ask you about this guy right here. No,
him again.
Necessary. So I wanted to ask you a question. I mean, the Dodgers signed him to a 10-year, $700 million contract, but he still has yet to pitch a game. He's yet to play a game in the outfield, I believe. Now they're saying he might pitch after the All-Star break. Very, very non-committal. So I wanted to ask you if this guy worth $70 million to DH?
Oh, you haven't heard he's better than Babe Ruth. What about his launch angle? What's wrong with you?
Right, and his velocity, right?
Yeah, I mean and we do this all the time nowadays when a phenom shows up, or at least a current generational phenom like an Ohtani. We already immediately decide that he's better than the greats. You and I have both been on record to be appalled at the comparisons to Babe Ruth, especially at this juncture of his career. It's ridiculous to even put him in the same sentence with Babe Ruth. Don't be so insulting and naive and historically stupid. Is he worth $70 million? Well, apparently, Betty, from what you're telling me, since he's done nothing this year, he's apparently worth nothing. How's that sound?
Well, I mean, he's DH'd like he did last. He had a great season last year, but is that worth $70 million?
No, and on top of it, how's his numbers so far? Is he hitting like Aaron Judge or something?
He is not. Let me. We can get that real quick here. No, he's not. I believe he's got some home runs, but
okay. So what?
We're gonna.
That's one stat. We know he can hit home runs. That's nice. Rob Deere hit a lot of home runs too.
Yeah.
No, he's not. Obviously, he's not Rob Deere, but you get my point.
Or Adam Dunn, or what's his name? Gallo.
Dave Kingman.
All right, so he's got 17 homers.
Okay, that's nice.
You're right.
That's nice.
In 48 games, 17 homers, 31 ribbies.
All right, excellent.
And a 304 batting average.
He's hitting the shit out of the ball. All right, so he's hitting the shit out of the ball, and he's DHing for them. Wasn't the sexiness
projected he'll hit?
Wasn't the sexiness of giving him all that money because he was better than Babe Ruth and he pitches?
Well, that's because he was he could pitch and he could hit.
Right. Well,
he's going to win the Cy Young and the MVP every year.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Sure. Right. Of course. And Babe Ruth was skinny and didn't like hot dogs. Right. I mean, no, he's not worth $70 million right now. This is a joke. When I think back on the 8+ years Dave Winfield gave us and played so damn hard, and then George got all on his case. So, I mean, what would he do with an Ohtani? Would George have even fallen for signing Ohtani? Because right now the classic George Steinbrenner would be pissed off to shit that the guy's not pitching. I didn't sign you for this. I signed you for both. I can hear him now.
Right.
I signed you to do both, and you're not doing both.
Well, I mean, and they knew he wasn't going to pitch last year. I mean, that was a given, but the expectation was that he'd be a part of the rotation.
And what's
out of the
the
gates.
issue? By the way, what is the and I don't know, I don't expect you to know this answer fully, but what is the medical reason why he's healthy enough to average on pace? If he keeps it up, he's like a 45, 50 home run guy. What's wrong with his arm that he can't throw?
Right.
If he can hit like that,
You
I'm
can swing a bat.
confused.
Yeah. I mean, I my my guess is that they're doing well enough without him pitching, but
Right,
that's not to me. That's not the issue. I mean, you gave him 703, almost three-quarters of $1 billion because he
right,
was like we said, quote unquote the next Babe Ruth, which of course he's not, but that
right.
was the premise. I mean, if this guy's worth 70 million to be a DH, what is Aaron Judge worth?
I'll do one better. If this guy's 70 million to be a DH, then Edgar Martinez got underpaid for a Hall of Fame DH career.
Oh yeah,
Let's see this guy do what Edgar Martinez did for 15 to 20 years.
that
You know
guy
what I'm
just walked up to the plate every
Yeah.
day and just hit the shit out of the ball.
You want to talk a professional hitter again? Otani is early to me, still early in his career. I'm sorry, he's got plenty of more years. He's supposed to be doing something, and his something was supposed to be being the only real, true two-way player since Babe Ruth as far as pitching and hitting. That's what I thought that money was for. So to me, I could hear Steinbrenner. Well, if he's getting 70 million, he's supposed to do both things. I'll just cut his salary in half because he's only doing one. Can hear George right now.
70 million, he should be selling hot dogs
Yeah,
besides everything else.
yeah, yeah. Well, he may not like hot dogs because he's not as great as Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth would be
Right.
scarfing them hot dogs now.
Maybe selling sushi in the food court there. I don't know. I mean,
Oh, look at you getting ethnic. Otani, so overrated, And it's funny too, the perception of winners and losers. Judge had a terrible World Series. We all know that. This guy hits 105 in the World Series, has a ring, and gets a free pass. Not by
right.
me. Not by me. You know. Hey, I'll say it again. Aaron Judge is a great Yankee, and would I really want anybody besides Aaron Judge to be in that lineup doing what he does? No, no. And yes, it was one terrible World Series, but he's given us more than enough faith that he can have great season after. Look what he's doing this year. He obviously wants to get back there. You know what I'm saying? You can feel it with Aaron Judge. He wants to get back to that World Series again. And
Right.
I think when he gets another opportunity, it might be a very, very different story. Hopefully, he gets another opportunity.
Well, here's hoping. I think that's the only thing right now that,
Right.
and a catastrophic injury that are
He
keeping him out of the Hall of Fame. I mean, I think he
he's not.
makes the Hall no matter what. But
Oh, he's well on his way, but he's not the only player to have failed at first and been able to redeem. Dave Winfield was known as Mr. May after 81. Dave Winfield got the game-winning hit in the 1992 World Series for the Blue Jays to win a championship. There's been others. There has been others. Like A-Rod struggled for years, had the biggest, choke label on him. And without A-Rod in 2009, we're not winning anything.
right. Oh,
He had
absolutely.
an unbelievable playoff, A-Rod, but it took years
Yeah.
and years. Should it have taken that long? Of course not. You want to see it sooner, but Judge deserves to get back there again. And the way he's played coming off that disappointing World Series shows his resilience and composure as the guy. So no, I don't want this guy. I still want that guy, Judge.
I mean, if I'm picking sides on the Sandlot and there's two guys left, Otani and Judge, I'm taking
Yeah,
Judge.
yeah, I'm taking Judge because Otani's not pitching. I got to be honest, if Otani was pitching and pitching well and hitting the way he obviously can hit, look, he's in the conversation. The guy's a slugger, no doubt, no doubt. Great home run hitter, you know. Honestly, if he's having all these problems with his arm, maybe he's thinking about the Hall of Fame down the road and
Right.
stuff. Maybe he just wants to DH and get 500 home runs because if he stays healthy and can hit the way he's been hitting, he'll get it, right? He'll get it. I think he would. If he stays healthy for the next 10 years and pops them out and pops them out and pops them out, fine. But yeah, if I'm forced to pick between the two, I'm still probably going to take Judge because he's not pitching. Otani's not pitching. That was the whole lure of Otani, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's like I said. That to me, that's why he got that money. He wasn't getting that money to DH.
Nope.
And I don't get why he can't play the field either. I mean, that's the other part.
I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. Look, even the gambling thing or whatever was going on with his bank account, whatever the fuck that was, they swept that under the rug. It's funny how hush hush everything is with Otani. So there's all these questions.
I will.
How come he doesn't pitch? How come he doesn't field? What's up with that? We never hear anything. It's like, okay, it's Otani. He's an ambassador to the game. Whatever. Open season. Do whatever you want, Otani. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. To me, that gambling thing went away way too soon.
Oh, went away real easy, didn't it?
And yeah, just very quietly.
In the age of DraftKings and Otani's stuff being swept under the rug, no matter what the situation was. Come on, that was the biggest hush hush operation
Yeah,
we've seen in a long time. And Pete Rose is now cold and resting, and okay, now we'll put him in the Hall of Fame. The game is so hypocritical in many ways.
it really truly is. All right, let me bring you to the next subject here. So this is Paul Skeens.
Him again. Yeah.
Yeah. Barring injury, probably going to be the next great pitcher in Major League Baseball. Now this year he's 3-5, but he's number one. He plays for the Pirates, but he's fourth in ERA with a 2.44 ERA, second in batting average against with a .190.
Great. How many Ks does he got? How many strikeouts?
His K total is actually down a little bit per 9 innings. I'm glad you asked that, actually.
All right.
Because last year, he so as a rookie last year, so amazingly, last year he, as soon as my computer boots up here, come on, started 23 games last year, right? With that 23, would basically a half season or 2/3 of a season.
About 2/3.
Wins the Rookie of the Year, comes in third in the Cy, 19th in the MVP. Mm-hmm. He was 11-3 with a 1.96 ERA, averaged 11.5 strikeouts per 9, but he's down to 8.9. That's a little bit concerning, but his ERA is a little bit up.
Benny, do me a favor. You're a calculator mind. What's 32 times 9? Is it 288? Because something tells me that's the answer.
288. I
just sprung that through my brain just now. So he's calmed down to 288 strikeout pace, basically, for the most part. The guy's a strikeout artist. His 2.44 is still fantastic, like you just said, fourth in the league, correct? He's on a bad team. Bottom line, he's on a bad team, and he is the future.
Yeah, no, his batting average against is. Yeah, and his walks and hits and his whip is .941. You know how many pitchers in the history of baseball have a career whip of 1 or less?
How many?
Very few.
I would say so.
It's a handful, and actually one of them was Mariano Rivera. But, I mean, the list is very few and far between. So the question is now he's eligible for arbitration in 2027, and then free agency in 2030. Now, obviously, there's no way the Pirates can afford him. So, and there's been rumors that they're gonna maybe get rid of him now and get a bunch of prospects. Would they be? You think they'd be irresponsible for doing so?
I think it's wishful thinking, or it's hype from the media. I'd be very surprised. I honestly, if I'm running the Pirates and I know that I'm hamstrung by the budget and stuff like that, you have to give your fans something to want to come to the park. I could see Pittsburgh milking every last rule they can, keep them for arbitration. If you lose the arbitration case, pay him. You got to keep him there until he's allowed to go on his own, unless the best thing to do would be to wait till the final year before free agency. If you know there's no way you can retain him, that's when you move him, as long as his value is at his highest. You think that his value is not going to get higher and risk, if you move him now, you're basically thinking that he might get hurt. Because if he doesn't get hurt, his value is only going to go up.
Right.
This is a young superstar on the rise who, if he punches out 5 seasons with Pittsburgh, this is his second, and you said he's got 3 more seasons, basically, this next year and then 2027 arbitration. You got to keep him unless you feel that he really has maxed his value. I don't see that in this guy's case.
No,
I
no,
would,
I think it's way too soon to make that determination.
yeah, I would probably keep him until his walk year, and then halfway through the season, like we've seen happen so many times, of his walk year, you move him. If he's on top of his game in 2030, is that when you said his free agent comes up? If that's if
2030,
it,
yeah. Yep, 2030.
if he's on top of his game when that's going on, then you move him. But you don't move him right now because you want fannies in the seats, and he's the face of your team. So you really shouldn't move him.
I
Uh,
mean, right. I mean, whatever
Yankees,
their meager attendance is right now,
yeah.
I would say
Come on.
most of it's because of him.
And it's sad too because the Pirates are a very old, proud franchise. It's got to be terrible being a Pirates fan nowadays. There's so much to be proud of with the Pirates, but unfortunately, you got to go
Oh,
back to
what a
19.
great history.
You got to go back to like 1979 for the last title, and then you got to go fast forward maybe to when Bonds and Bonilla were together, giving the Braves fits. And since then, since the early 90s, it's been hell for the Pittsburgh Pirates for the most part. It's been hell. And they've put some damn good teams historically on the field until then. So
Right.
no, you can't move this guy. What are you going to tell your fan base? It's bad, and it's a shame too. What a beautiful park they got. I love the scenic with the bridge and stuff. It's just beautiful. Why can't they figure this out to like be able to put a great team on the field? The Marlins every once in a while strike gold. Can't you? You know,
Well, and you can't always just throw out the money factor because there's been, in recent history, good teams out there. I mean, the Tampa Bay
right,
Rays were
right,
competitive for quite a
right,
while with a very low
right.
budget.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be done. It's very sad for the Pirates fans. It really is. But I wouldn't move them now. No way.
Yeah.
No
I
way. I'd get
didn't
everything I could get out of them and then move them if I have to.
Right. Now, didn't, if memory serves me correctly, the Expos, before they moved to Washington, they were
Yeah.
noted for that. They come up with these great prospects, and
Oh yeah.
they'd play them until it was time for free agency, and then they'd move them along because they knew they weren't going to be able to afford to
Right.
sign them, re-sign them.
Yeah, one of the death blows was losing Pedro Martinez.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's happened with Montreal. That's another sad case of a
Oh,
franchise.
I love I love the uniform. I don't know why. Just something about the Montreal Expos uniform.
It's bizarre. I'll give you that. It's bizarre. That's for sure. I think the
Yeah.
mascot wound up I think the mascot wound up at the Canadians games. What was his name? Louis or something like
Oh,
that.
that sounds like that would be it, but
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now.
Louis.
But they were a charming team. The strike season of '94 screwed them. You know, pretty sad. Pretty sad.
I remember watching their very first game in 1969 against the Mets, and I believe they won that game 11-10. And I believe Seaver actually started that game, which you wouldn't think
Wow.
Tom Seaver. Yeah, I don't think Seaver would not normally be associated with 11-10 game, but
Beaver
I think
spitting the bit. Very rare. Very rare.
yeah, yeah. All right, Jim. Let's go from there
I hope the Yankees wind up
to
with that kid. I'll tell you
the
that.
main event. Oh God, yeah, yeah. I mean, who would we trade right now? Would we trade Dominguez? Would we trade Volpe?
For him?
I mean, how about Volpe and Dominguez straight up for Skeens? We do it?
Well, it is painful, but I'd still do it. I still would do it because Volpe has not come to the fruition I expect from him. Shows flashes of brilliance, but that's not. We're in what year are we in with him? We're in year
Volpe's
3.
year 3.
His batting average
209
stinks, and
rookie season.
yeah, his
Yeah.
batting average stinks, and he strikes out too much. And if they want him, fine. For Skeens, absolutely. Dominguez, that's the wild card. But you know what? To this point, I don't see Mickey Mantle. So okay, I would do that for Skeens because we know what Skeens is already. I don't think it's a mystery about Skeens. The guy's a stud. It's
I
like
mean, could he
watching
be
a young.
a Clemens?
It's like watching a young, yeah, something like that,
Yeah.
or a Schilling.
That's what
You
I
know,
was putting this together. That's what I did. I thought of Clemens immediately.
yeah. A young Clemens, a young Schilling, a young Catfish. People forget what Catfish was when he was a young man. I
Oh
mean, the
yeah,
high strikeouts stuff. A young Nolan Ryan. Who the hell knows? One way or the other. He looks like he's what? How about a young Justin Verlander? Can I throw that out there? Why not? He's
yeah,
the next great of his generation with pitchers, man. He could be the one. You go get that guy.
yeah.
If you want to go
Pretty much,
somewhere,
I wouldn't say at any cost, but I mean, you're going to
not
have
at
to
any
pony up
cost, no.
some prospects.
Yeah, not at any cost, but
All
the
right,
ones we
now,
just mentioned, I would.
Jimmy, I'm very nervous about this, but
Yeah,
we're
me
gonna
too.
do this now. So here we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, it's going to be
All right.
interesting.
So, and I gotta put my specs on. Well, I got my specs on, but I'm gonna have to lean a little closer. All right. So first base, we're gonna do
Batter up.
1929 Philly, 1929 A's, 70
Yeah.
Orioles, 84 Tigers, 98 Yankees. So
Oh
first
boy.
base, we got Jimmy Fox, the great Jimmy Fox, 33 homers, 118 ribbies, 354 batting average.
Okay.
We got Boog Powell, 35, 114, 297, and I think that was his MVP year.
That's got to be a near a career high for batting average for Boog too. He was
Boog,
he was
yes,
more like
it was.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
He
Boog ever
was
hit
more like a
300.
260, more like a 260
I
something
think
kind of
I'm
hit.
going to guess career 266 average, but I think this was his
You're
MVP
probably
year.
right.
84 for Dave Bergman, 1383, 310.
Wow.
Not
Nice
bad, right?
year. Nice year for Dave.
Yeah,
I think he might have come from the Yankees minor league system, by the way. I
I believe
think.
you are correct.
Right.
And then, last but certainly not least is Tino, 28, 123, 281. I mean, those are some good seasons.
They're all very good. They're all very good. Jimmy is obviously number one. Jimmy Fox is number one. Look at that batting average.
Yeah.
Jimmy Fox. I'm a big fan of Jimmy Fox, by the way. Not just a Philadelphia A's legend, also a Boston Red Sox legend. This guy did major damage with two different clubs,
He's the guy that replaced Babe Ruth as the home run king.
Yeah. Oh yeah. How come he falls between the cracks a little bit, Benny? Why do you think that is? It's almost like that Frank Robinson thing. Like, oh yeah, Jimmy Fox, by the way. What is it about that?
I don't know. I mean, there's really no good explanation because, the guy hit over 500 home runs in an era where not a lot of guys were hitting those kind of home runs.
No. And the average is just as impressive too. I told you that's what usually separates Babe Ruth from everybody else that was a great power hitter. What was Babe? 342 lifetime batting average, right?
Yeah.
And I said in previous shows that there were very few power hitters that can sit in the same room, but look at that batting average right there. Jimmy Fox he's one of them. He's one of them guys, that was just legendary back in the earliest of times. And he's got to be one. Now, the real question for me as I paint over this, I really got to give it to Boog as much as I want to give it to Tino. I got to give it to Boog because Boog, that is, it is about the season. And Boog Powell doesn't normally pull a 297. And Boog Powell, if you're telling me he won the MVP that year, are you sure about that, Benny? I mean, it's really hard
I'm
to
going to check that right
go.
now, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all, bro. I know that Boog Powell is one of those guys that's a borderline Hall of Fame argument for sure. For sure. And this feels like one of those seasons where you got to do the right thing, no matter what. Now, Tino's RBIs, man, and Tino's average is solid, but Boog almost hit 300, more homers, et cetera, et cetera. How was
Well,
Boog
no, and
defensively?
I was correct, Jimmy. He did he won the MVP.
Yeah,
But
that gives him second. Yeah.
I mean, no Gold Gloves, but I mean,
I mean, was Boog?
yeah. Now
You
the
saw
year
more.
before,
You saw more.
69.
Yeah. When they lose to the Miracle Mets.
69 the year before, 37, 121, and 304 batting average.
Get a load.
And runner up in the MVP.
How was he defensively? I only saw him at the end of his career, and he didn't seem bad, but he didn't strike me that he was ever, and like the obvious names like Mattingly, Hernandez, or how was he as a first baseman?
No, he was not. No, he was good. He was all right. I mean, he wasn't great. He was good.
Well,
Solid. Yeah,
serviceable can
definitely
serviceable. John Cena
serviceable.
will tell you serviceable can win you a lot of championships. So I got to give it to Boog with
Yeah.
two. Now, if you disagree at any point, let me know. But that was the only dilemma was because Tino just we know what Tino was. So I got to give Tino number three though. Obviously, there's just so much production and great defense going on with Tino, and an excellent season there, by the way, with Mister 310 former Yankee farmhand. What's going on there, Benny? Pretty good
Yeah,
year.
imagine that. Like you're in fourth place with a 310 batting average.
Yeah, yeah. So that's I guess the recap is it's Fox in first, right?
Fox first, Boog second, Tino third, and Bergman fourth.
I wonder who we traded Bergman for when we moved him.
Yeah,
Where did
that
he
good question.
did he wind up going to Houston first? See, I can't remember everything. I don't think we shipped him right to the Tigers right away. I don't believe so. But that's interesting that he had a really good season like that. I didn't even realize he had a good season like that. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. Yeah, and one of the things I like about doing this is, little surprises like that. It's like, wow, I didn't know he hit
Right.
310.
You know what I
All
remember
right, let's
about him,
move.
Benny? Remember the rookie cards that had all like four boxes with each, face,
Yes,
like four in a card.
of
That's
course.
how I remember him. He was on one of them rookie cards. I was like, okay. Then I see the name and I'm like, wow, he had a good year. What? I wonder why we moved him.
Yeah, I
All
mean
right.
that was pretty much as far as, let's see, for yeah. Odd. Okay, let's go to second base.
All right.
We got a Max Bishop. Max Bishop, 3 homers, 36 ribbies, 232. We got Dave Johnson, 1053 and 281. We got Lou Whitaker, 1356, 289. And we got Knobloch at 1764, 265.
Wow.
Tough, this close one, right?
Okay. This might be a little bit. Ooh. How do you feel about? Right now. I'm wrestling between Whitaker and Knobloch being one and two. Why am I telling myself Whitaker deserves to be number one? Can you help me?
Well, you got the defense there. Let me see if he won the Gold Glove that year.
Because I feel like Chuck
Let's
is not
see.
running away with it offensively. Chuck is superior offensively outside of the batting average. He's superior with the production, but he's not running away with it. So was Lou an all-star that year in '84? I'm assuming he was. Did Lou win a Gold Glove that year? Very possible. Whitaker is
Lou
not
won
in the
the
Hall
Gold
of Fame.
Glove. Yes, Lou won the Gold Glove that year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Lou. Look, Benny, correct me if I'm wrong. Trammell is in and Lou is not. Correct? At this point in the Hall of Fame,
That is
Trammell is
correct.
in and Lou is not, and that is ridiculous. Okay, Lou Whitaker is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
My God, what is going on there? You know. I remember the '84 Tigers. As fond as I am of the '98 Yankees, I am not with a straight face going to say that I'm going to take Chuck Knobloch in 1998 over Lou Whitaker. No way. So I'm going to give it to Lou, and I'm going to give the second spot to Chuck. If you're comfortable with that, that's how I feel pretty strongly about that, especially after you confirm that he was, Gold Glove and. Well,
I'm okay with that because of the Gold Glove. Yes, absolutely.
okay. So what does that leave us with at 3 and 4 again, please? We got Davey.
We got Davey Johnson with 10 homers, 53 ribbies, 281
Mm-hmm.
average, and Max
Yeah.
Bishop 136, 232.
Boy, that's minuscule. So Davey runs away with the third spot, right, bro?
Yeah.
Davey runs away with it.
Yep. And we give.
Very interesting that there's very little going on at second base for such a mighty team. This is 1929, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's for such a mighty team, the 29 A's that also won it in 1930, if I'm not mistaken. Wow, that's not much production going on. I guess the 32 RBIs isn't bad. I'm assuming he hit at the bottom of the order, but maybe he hit at the top. I don't know. That's a rotten batting average, I'll tell you that.
No, agree. So we got
Know
let's
nothing
recap.
about
We've
that guy.
got
Yeah.
Lewis. Yeah, I never heard of the guy until I looked him up. Lou
Yeah.
number
Is he
one.
related,
We
Benny? Is
got
he related to
Knobloch number
is he
two.
is he related to Joey Bishop, Benny, by any chance?
He might be, yeah. Did Joey Bishop do the voice of the anteater on Pink Panther?
Are you serious? Did he? If he did, he's a
You know,
hero.
I want to say he would. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's great. Now I have to know. Okay, look that up. Just kidding,
Yeah.
folks. It's a baseball show.
Hang on. Hang on.
So we got Lou, we got Chuck, we got Davey, and we got some dude that's related to Joey
And we
Bishop,
got
who was
Joey
the
Bishop.
voice of
Yeah.
I am an it, and you are an aardvark.
Oh boy, chocolate covered ants. Yeah. All right.
Are you really looking that up? Hey, only on this show, folks.
You know what? Yeah, we have to. I got to know.
Why
I'm like the
not?
guy
Why not?
on the ground with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Who played the aardvark in the Pink Panther show?
Oh my God, you're gonna like sprain the internet brain search on that one. They're gonna be like, "What the fuck are you talking
No,
about?"
it was John. It was John Biner.
Who's John Biner? The drummer for Led Zeppelin? No, that's
John
Bonham.
Biner was an impersonator back in the. He was like another Rich Little kind of guy.
Okay, interesting. Did he have TV spots the way Rich did? Because Rich made it big time with the TV spots and stuff. Did he
Biner
have
was
the
on a number. He was one of those guys you saw like on
Interesting.
Bewitched or
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, all right,
yeah.
I got you. Cool, very
All
interesting.
right,
We learned
and
something new on this show
right, and no telling what you're going to find out. So in
for sure.
shortstop, 29 A's, Joe Boley, old Joe
Joe Bowley,
Boley, two
Joe Bowley.
dead Joe Boley now.
So we got
Uh,
Bowley and Bishop, huh? Bowley and
right,
Bishop DP combo. Okay, what's his numbers?
247, 251. We got for the 70 O's, we got Belanger, great shortstop, 136, 218. 84 Allen Trammell, 1469, 314. But we
Oh
got
yeah.
Jeter, 1984 and 324.
Well, the captain comes to save the day because Jeter is definitely number one.
Right.
Trammell's definitely number two. So the first two are very clear cut. By the way, uh, it, is Trammell and Whitaker the DP combo that turned the most DPs in the history of the game, or has that been broken since? Has somebody
If
broken that?
I don't think
Because I
so.
think
In
I think they
fact, I
have
don't
the
think that'll
record.
ever be broken.
I think they have the record, and I remember thinking to I saw the Yankees play those Tigers back in the day many times live, and Trammell and Whitaker were very impressive, man. They really were. Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker. Do you realize that was a DB combination you could pencil in for 2 decades? It was 2 decades, wasn't it? Just about the two of them play
Right.
together. How anybody else to ever do anything like that? I'm
I
trying to
think they
think.
played for like 17 seasons together.
Right, it's almost 2 decades. That is
Yeah.
unbelievable to me. And if you do finally, get back to what we talked about with the baseball writers, right, Ben? How is it that the baseball writers figured out to finally vote Trammell in, but it's like the bacon, but they forgot the eggs? Where's Whitaker?
Right.
Are you going to tell me that they were that different from each other? Quite
Right. Yeah.
honestly, they they
It makes no sense.
yeah, they really weren't that different from each other, which made it even more beautiful, the chemistry and the symmetry that were going on with those two for 17 seasons. They felt like the same.
Trammell might have had a little bit more pop in his bat as far as home runs, but Lou was a superb second baseman,
Tell that to
and he
Whitaker.
could hit for average.
Tell that to Whitaker in the games that I paid to watch him launch one into the right field seats. Whitaker could hit.
Right.
Whitaker had some power too. Yes, Trammell
No,
had a few more.
he
Yeah,
definitely had some pop in his bat. So,
yeah,
yeah, Belanger did not win the Gold Glove that year. He won a number of them, but he did not win it that
right,
year.
right. Now I was
He won
looking
8
into Mark.
of them actually.
How many Gold Gloves, Ben? How many
He
Gold Gloves?
won 8 in total.
Right, 8 in
8,
total. Uh,
8 Gold Gloves.
I was looking into Belanger, and I did get to see a lot of him when I was a kid. Um, when you use some of the fancier stats that I will not use, I thought it was interesting, though, that after Ozzie Smith, basically the next greatest defensive shortstop, as far as some of these crazy stats that they throw out there, is Mark Belanger defensively. I actually kind of believe that because if there could have been a oh boy, if there could have been a Joe DiMaggio equivalent to a guy who always just seemed to be wherever the ball was hit and fluidly make the play, it was Mark Belanger. There was nothing flashy, from what I remember, about Mark Belanger in his body language as a player. He just always
He was
seemed to
a
make.
tall, skinny guy. Yeah, I don't remember him diving a whole lot.
He
He
didn't
was
seem
6'1",
to need.
170.
He didn't seem to need
Right,
to. He always seemed to know where to be, and he was like the
very
smoothest shortstop I really ever
right.
do remember. But the problem here, and it's why he's going to probably fall fourth when, in my mind, is that damn batting average of his. He always was a
Yeah,
horrendous hitter, horrendous. You
career.
know, ugh, bad hitter.
It's
You
funny
know,
though. Like
but
a lot of these guys, like all right, even him in 1969, he hit
yeah,
287,
okay, great.
but that was it.
Freak year though. What's his career
Yeah,
batting average, man? You got to help me out here because I'm pretty sure his
228, 228.
how 228. Okay, so I remembered it. Yeah, yuck.
Yep.
That's awful. Yeah, 228 is awful. He was a powder puff hitter. I would be interested in his postseason numbers. Like, was he clutch? Bet you he probably was. I mean, he was part of some great Oriole teams. He was a human vacuum cleaner, and that was. You could be just a human vacuum cleaner and play shortstop in this game for decades. That went on for years. That a shortstop didn't have to be Derek
Yeah.
Jeter or Cal Ripken Jr. or whoever. So Belanger had a great long
Nope.
career. He was a great Oriole. But man, he couldn't hit his average was terrible. I'm surprised 287 in 1969. It's
That
pretty
was a
damn
yeah
amazing
fluke.
for
His
him.
postseason batting average is 183,
Yeah, the guy
and
just was.
actually
Go ahead.
164 in the four World
Oh,
Series, 164 average.
oomfa, can't
Yeah.
hit, can't hit. Great shortstop though. Oh my God, you know.
I mean, for the line with the lineup they had, they could afford to do that. You got you got a Boog Powell, you got a Brooks Robinson, you got Frank Robinson. You
Yeah,
got the bats,
yeah, you do have the bats, and you had some really good pitching, as we're going to get to. You had
and you
some
had
really good
yeah,
pitching.
yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
your
All right,
manager,
so we got
your manager was pretty damn good too. So
oh
there's that
hell
too.
yeah, love Earl Weaver.
So
So we're gonna give
Runs away with this one to me. It's Jeets, and then it's Tram, and who comes in third for us, Benny?
you're gonna
I'm
Boley, I
not giving
guess.
it to Mark.
No, no, you got the other guy has more production, higher average, and
Right.
the now
Nothing
if
much
Belanger
going.
won the Gold Glove that year, maybe you could argue giving it to him, but he
Yes,
did not.
to be honest, I probably would have. But nothing to write home about in spots 3 and 4 on this list. I mean,
No, nope. All right, moving along to
Mm-hmm.
third base. They had a bunch of unknowns here. So Sammy Hale, 1 homer, 40 ribbies, 277. You got Brooks with 1894, 276, typical Brooks season. You had in
Okay.
84, you had Hojo, Howard Johnson, 1250 and 248. And then you had Brocious, 1998, 300. That was a great season. I love that season with him.
It was an incredible season for Brocious. Can I ask you about to remind me and the audience at home what did Brooks Robinson do in the postseason in 1970?
In 70,
Yeah.
let's see.
Which was the playoff year where Brooks turned into a damn vacuum cleaner defensively and made all those highlight plays? Was it in 70? And was he the World Series MVP? Who was the World Series MVP? I need to know for my own sanity.
He's got a World Series MVP.
Right?
All right, let's see. postseason batting at 303 average
Yep.
career.
What year was the World Series
And he
MVP?
was the World Series MVP
I want to say
in
70.
1970.
There, thank you. Okay, so this is that World Series,
Hit
and the only
429
other third baseman.
in the series.
What did he
No,
hit? 329. 329, Benny, in the World Series. What was the average?
in his world 70 World Series, 429.
429.
Two
That's the video. That's the video highlight
homers,
that
6
you.
ribbies.
That's the video highlight that you see. That only the only other one that comes from the 70s is the video highlights of what
We
Nettles
lose
does
you?
to the. No, I'm here. Are you there?
Wait for Jimmy to come back. There he is.
I never left. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, I don't know
I
if
never
it's
saw.
on my end this time.
Yeah, I never saw myself get bounced off. I was just saying that those defensive
Okay.
highlight reels from Robinson is from 1970. So, boy, this is difficult, Benny. You realize we got two third basemen that were World Series MVPs.
Right.
I'm going to go with Brooks.
Yeah.
I'm going with Brooks.
Yeah.
I have to, right?
Very hard to bet against Brooks.
No, it just, Brocious is also like, come on, we're dealing with this, not that Brocious wasn't taking steroids, but the ball, you know what gets lost with the steroid? I remember the balls were getting juiced too.
Right.
You know what I mean? You ever catch a foul ball in the early 90s and then you got one from the steroid era? Trust me, they feel different. They're wound more tightly.
Brooks
Yeah.
Brooks was making plays that nobody made.
No, no. The only one that was comparative during his time in the 70s was Nettles. That's
Right.
it. They were always in the conversation together when we were kids. When I was a kid growing up in the 70s, Nettles and Brett, Nettles, Robinson, Brett. I mean, Robinson was, defensively. Nettles was better than Brett defensively. Sorry,
And then you
you
had
know,
in the NL, you had Schmidt winning it every year, the Gold Glove.
Schmidt was the best of all. Schmidt's the greatest third baseman ever. I mean, that's the guy I'm picking, right? Agreed.
When you look at everything total package, how do
Yeah.
you bet
No,
against him?
I'm taking Mike Schmidt just the way I feel about Johnny Bench. People would say Pudge Rodriguez. I'm like, nope, I'm taking Johnny Bench.
No, give me Johnny. No, give me Johnny Bench.
Yeah,
So
I'm
we
taking Johnny Bench.
got Brooks 1, Brocious 2.
Right.
You want Hojo 3? Or
What? Give me the stats for 3 and 4 one more time.
Hojo's 1250 and 248, and Sammy Hale is 140 and 277.
Nah, that's Davies. I'm going with Davy. Davy's about to have
Who?
a monster year. Davy Johnson. Didn't you say Davy?
Are you talking about? No, this is Hojo.
Oh, Hojo. Davy Johnson, Howard Johnson. I got Johnson and Johnson on the brain. Perhaps I'm hungry.
Right.
What do you think? Yeah, no, you got to give it to Hojo.
Give it to Hojo. So, all right. That's
Yeah.
3. All right. Let's move on to.
Some of these bats, by the way, on the A's, I'm not very impressed with so far. I mean, of course, we had Jimmy, but Fox. But
Yeah.
kind of powder puff going on there a little bit. That's weird.
This one is interesting. So you got 1929. You got Mule Haas with 16 homers, 82 ribbies, and a 313 batting average. Nice season. You got Don Buford, 1766 and 272. Solid. You got 1984 Larry Herndon. Remember him?
Sure.
7 homers, 43 ribbies, 280.
All right.
Average. And then you got Chad Curtis, 10, 56, and 243. This is a tough one.
I'm feeling like Chad goes to the bottom. Let's start there. What do you think? Between Chaz and Larry, really, at the bottom.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay, so now let's go back to the top 2. I think option 1 might have sounded better than option 2, but refresh me on the first 2 choices.
So you got Mule Haas
Right.
with 16 homers, 82 ribbies,
I think he's
313
going to win
batting
this.
average.
Yeah, I think he's going to win
And
this.
then you
Yeah.
got Buford, you got 17, 66, 272.
Yeah, I think
Herndon
Mule
was
takes
7,
it.
43, and 280.
Yeah, Mule takes it.
Yep, Mule Train.
Yep. That's a
All
really
right.
nice year
We
for
got
a guy I'd
Mule at
never
number
heard of with a
one. We
very
got
unusual name. You know that's a very nice
right.
year by a
Yep.
guy I've never heard of with a very unusual name. Mule? Okay.
Trying career 292 hitter though.
Wow. Really? How
Didn't
long did he
play.
play for?
Didn't he played 12 seasons?
Okay.
Played for the 12. He played for the A's and the White Sox. He was out
All
of the
right.
game at 34 though.
Interesting.
Yeah, he only played. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 7 or 8 full seasons. Yeah,
Huh.
high mark at 323 batting average in 1931. No
Wow.
power, but I
He
guess he
had
was a good
he had
outfielder.
some
So we
power
got
that
so we got
year.
we got yeah, yeah.
Huh. All right.
So we got Curtis at last. We got Mule first. Uh, we put Buford at number 2.
Yeah. It still bothers me that Curtis wound up with more starts in the outfield than Darryl. I'm annoyed by that. I want
Yeah,
Darryl's 24 home runs and 57 RBIs to be in that position in left field. I'm
that,
really annoyed
that
by
would
that.
help. You might have bumped him up a notch or so. Not that we've needed it so far, but
No.
all right. So we got in recap. We have Mulehaus number 1. We have Buford number 2. We have right down the line Herndon number 3. We got Chad Curtis number 4. All right.
Larry Herndon, there's a blast from the past, by the way.
Oh yeah. All right. Here's where
Has
it
his
gets.
baseball card.
You're gonna have some
Yeah, real
awesome
quick.
numbers here.
Real quick, Benny, before we jump to center field, and maybe we'll do this in future episodes. Give me your thoughts on the '84 Tigers.
I mean, weren't they like they were up to the fastest start ever, or at least in modern history? Weren't
Well,
they like
how's 30?
35-7?
Yeah, I was gonna say how's like 35-5 or whatever, 35-7
Yeah,
sound. You know what I mean? Like
just
that
it
was just.
was a runaway freight train.
There's not too many clubs that have given a season like they did. Like the '98 Yankees, yes. The '76 Reds, yeah, pretty much. But the '84 Tigers, I'm glad that we got to them because I feel like they were one of those teams that had use a football equivalent, the 1985 Chicago Bears. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were great dynasties in football, but the 1985 Chicago Bears, the 15-1 Chicago Bears, that's kind of like what the '84 Tigers felt like. They pounded everybody right from the beginning. You knew they were the team in charge, is what I'm saying.
You're
And they,
when you're on top from start that you're on top from literally start to finish of the season.
right, the end.
Right.
The same thing. The same thing with the '98 Yankees. The same thing with the '85 Chicago Bears. It's just one of those teams. And that was a great year for the Detroit Tigers. And look who's the manager, by the way. You got
Oh
Sparky
yeah.
Anderson, the '76 team and the '84 team. I just named a guy who did it in two different leagues. He did it in both leagues. He put up one of the greatest teams in both leagues history.
Just
Sparky
a great
Anderson.
manager. Love Sparky.
Oh my God! Everything that's right about baseball.
Yep. All right. And I think he had one season in the major leagues. I want to
Mm-hmm.
say,
Now,
and he hit 218 as a second baseman.
right. Well, hey, Don Zimmer wasn't much of a ball player, but look what he did in the dugout.
Most weren't. Yeah. I mean, Joe Torre
Yeah.
was the exception to the rule.
Yeah. Now, but again, I apologize, but before we do get to center field, I really want to hear from you about the 1970 Baltimore Orioles, because after all, at this point, you're probably a good 7 or so years into watching baseball passionately as a young kid. What were the '70s Orioles and that Oriole team in general like as a fan, as a Yankee fan, to deal with them?
To me, the Orioles, and starting in '66, actually,
Yeah, when they won,
they
they won
were
it all.
the cream of the crop. The Yankees were just starting to come up a little bit. Out of they're reemerging from the Horace Clarke era, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the O's were the team. They were the elite. I mean,
And it's interesting too because you mix in a little Boston Red Sox. Like '67 was the year of the Red Sox, so it's like it's these other teams are taking over for that 10-year dark time period that Steinbrenner eventually pulls us out of.
right, right, yeah, yeah, and I think the Orioles rather were still stinging from the 1969 World Series loss to the
Right,
Mets, and I think they had
right.
something to prove in 1970, and they
Well, it
proved
was.
it.
Yeah, you know what? One day we will do it. We will. Let's match up one day for the folks at home and for us too. Let's match up that '69 World Series and see if the right team won because we've been doing that with other things, whether it was the Diamondbacks, Yankees, or other
Uh,
circumstances like that.
I'm thinking that's going to be pretty lopsided, but it's worth doing though.
Why not? Why not? We actually found out
Oh,
last week, thanks to the what do you call us now? What is it? The bum ball. What was it?
Gumball metrics.
Bumball metrics. Well, thanks to that, we discovered that the 1960 Pirates were better than the New York Yankees, and we did not
That
think that
that
going
was a
into it.
that was a shocker.
So that's why I'm intrigued to see what happens when you put Tom Seaver and Jerry Koosman up against the '69 Orioles. I am curious.
Yeah, McNally and Palmer and Cuellar.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens there. You know, Cleon Jones was pretty good. I wonder who he's up against. You know, that stuff. It should be lopsided. I agree, but I would love to check it out anyway.
Cleon Jones at 340 that year.
Did he really? Well, he might
Yes.
not be losing his category to a much more famous name, and that's what we learned about the '60 thing. When you started naming guys that were beating the Yankees position by position because we're judging it for the season, that was a shock, bro. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, wait a minute. You know, the '60 Pirates were better.
No, they
That's
were
why we do
definitely the
this.
better team. So
Yeah.
here, wow, this is monster numbers. You got Al Simmons in center field, 34 homers, 157 ribbies,
Hall
and
of
a
Famer.
365 average.
Oh,
Wow.
please. Good. God, what is he, Lou Gehrig? What's going on over there?
Yeah, I mean everybody else is like very pedestrian compared to him.
Right.
Paul Blair was a phenomenal center fielder, 18, 65, 267. You
Good
had
season.
Chet Lemon,
Yeah.
20, 76,
Oh, Chet's
and
got it.
287. And you had
Chet's got
Bernie
it.
with 26, 97, and 339. So we know number one, we know number two. We got to just
Right.
talk about three and
Chet.
four.
Chet, rest in peace, Chet. I think Chet just passed away, Benny.
Yes, he did.
I think Chet Lemon just left us. Chet Lemon, man, number three for Chet. Chet was good. Chet was good. One of these days, we'll probably take a look at his numbers. Hell, take a look at his numbers now. We should do it for him
Lemon,
because he just left us.
well,
But
he
Chet
was.
Lemon was a good ball player. Good, and he had a nice season here.
I mean, that was not one of his better years. He had a lot better
Yeah.
better years than that. Let's see.
Yeah.
He
Love the
he
name
played
too.
16
Love the name.
seasons.
16. Okay.
Chet Lemon. Yeah, died at age
Lots,
70. Three-time
lots of time.
All-Star.
Lots of time with the White Sox, I'm sure.
Yeah, three-time All-Star. Yeah, and you got 215 homers, 884 ribbies, 273 average. Solid.
Uh huh. Yeah. Yeah. I like Chet Lemon.
Solid. Let me.
How many years with the White Sox compared to the
Good.
Tigers?
Good
I know.
glove.
How many years did he play for the White Sox compared to the Tigers?
7 White Sox, 9 Tigers.
Nice. So pretty well, almost evenly distributed. He put in good time with two different clubs. He's a good player. Definitely good player. Yeah, I would give him the third spot, right, Ben?
Actually, he was statistically, yes. He actually was better with the Tigers, though. 7 years with the Tigers, his average was 288.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think he hit for more power with the Tigers, and he
Right.
hit for lower average 263.
Right. But he really came into his
So he
own.
cranked up the power,
way or
and
the
he
other.
lost some points in it. But he was
Yeah.
good outfielder. Too.
Yeah, he was. And how do you got to love that name. Come on, Chet Lemon? That's a great
Chet
name. That's a
Lemon.
great baseball
Yeah.
name. Great baseball name.
Perfect. Yes.
I
right.
saw him do
So
some
we got-
damage with the White Sox against us. I remember when he was on the White Sox. It must have been a game I went to with my dad or something, but he did some damage. He was a good player. So you want to recap the list on that one, brother?
Yeah, so we got, of course, Al Simmons. What a season that was.
Oh,
Number one,
ridiculous.
you got Bernie. Geez, 339 and a batting title in year number 2.
Right.
You got Chet at 3, and you have Blair again, like a Gold Glover at
That's a
number
great
4.
season.
Some
That's
great,
a
great ball
real
players.
nice season. Real nice season from Paul Blair right there. Real nice. You know.
You knew that anything that was hit to center field, that guy was going to catch it.
By the way, just to throw it out there, I watched some 77, 78 World Series highlights. Do you remember how Paul Blair came in and like won a game in extra innings with like a base hit? Stuff like Paul Blair was really important. There was a couple of times I saw the highlights of crucial games in 77, 78, and there he is. I'm like, man, I had forgotten about some of the contributions he's given. You know, you always think about the big names, especially as time goes by, right, bro? You know, you think about Reggie, you think about Thurman, you know, you'll give Willie Randolph and Mickey Rivers some of your time, but you don't even, sometimes the Paul Blairs really slip between the cracks. It's like, oh my God, like Brian Doyle, when Willie got destroyed by Hal McRae with the
Right.
slide and couldn't play in the 78 World Series. Here's Brian Doyle. What did he hit? 438 or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it's just you forget about these guys, but that's a nice season from Paul for sure, and he's fourth.
Here's another 4 great seasons. So you got in right field, you got well, maybe not 4 great. Well, no, you got Bing Miller, 8
Bing.
homers, 93 ribbies,
Ooh,
and
Bing.
331 average.
Wow,
You
great
got
season, Bing. Bing
Bing.
Miller.
Bing. All right,
Wow.
Frank Robinson with 25.78, 306.
All right.
Kirk Gibson, 27, 91, 282. And you had the great Paul O'Neill with 24, 116, 317.
Paul.
But I think Bing is number 2. No?
Yeah. Agreed.
Or do you give it to Robinson? A little bit lower average. No, I mean,
No.
Bing drove the runs in.
No. Yeah. 93 RBIs. And what's his batting average, bro? 331?
331, yeah.
No. No. You know, Paul gets it because across the board, Paul did everything you need to do, and we also know what kind of leader he was. Something, no disrespect to category 1929 number 1, but I doubt this man was Paul O'Neill in his clubhouse. I doubt that. Not when you have those other huge names in the clubhouse. Nope. Great season though. So he's 2, and you know what? I might get an argument here, so I'm going to ask you to read Frank Robinson and Kirk Gibson's numbers one more time to me, as we remember as you read them to me. 1970 season versus the 1984 season for these guys. What did they do?
Yeah, Robinson with 25.78 and a 306 average.
Okay.
Gibson with 27.91 and a 282.
Kirk is next. Frank is last. Kirk is next because of the fact that there is enough comparative run production that I'm comfortable picking Kirk, because Kirk. You did you see Kirk in the postseason? 1984, Benny. You don't want to be
Yeah,
pitching.
yeah.
You don't want to be pitching to Kirk Gibson, okay? And that was the biggest problem, because Goose Gossage wanted to pitch to Kirk Gibson. He don't want to walk you. Sparky started to bark at Kirk Gibson. He doesn't want to walk you. Hey! He's yelling to Kirk. He doesn't want to walk you. Kirk's like, yeah, okay. You think you can get me out? And then came the home run. Kirk Gibson in
Right.
1984 was. Let me clear it up for those folks at home who don't remember or weren't around for that. Kirk Gibson was the face of the Detroit Tigers in 1984. With all these other
Absolutely.
names we've read, Kirk Gibson was the face of that team. Okay, so he's number 3 here. No disrespect to obviously a greater player, but by the way, I find these numbers very modest for Frank Robinson. Believe it or not, agreed.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, he was kind of winding down at that point. I'm
That's fine.
going to check Gibson in 84. Yeah, he was 6th in the MVP voting.
Yeah,
in '84. Yeah, great
yeah.
season.
Kirk
And
Gibson
he hit
was a winner.
333 in the series
Yeah, he
and
was a
was the
winner.
MVP.
Yeah, he was a winner. He was a winner. This was also the year,
Yeah.
and I think we're going to get to it anyway about the bullpen. We'll talk about it when we get there. But this was also the year of a Cy Young winner, I do believe, coming from Detroit, I think. But
He also so
yeah,
Gibson's got an MVP, 2 World
yeah,
Series,
oh yeah,
and a Manager of the Year. I forgot about that.
yeah, yeah. Kirk Gibson's great. He's great, 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 great. You know,
Nice body of work. Yeah.
absolutely. A winner, just a complete winner. Basically, on one leg, hitting that home run for the Dodgers, that infamous arm pumping, turning around from first to second base, gallop of one-legged hop of Kirk Gibson, just like, yeah, yeah. I mean, come on. Kirk Gibson is legendary as far as what's his lifetime numbers, Benny? Here I go again. I feel bad
Gibson
for
is,
folks at home.
let's
Benny
see.
kills himself here, always looking up this stuff for us, but go for it, Ben. Because I know he's not Hall
Yeah,
of
it's all
Fame,
right.
but
It's
but
fun.
I could
Two,
I could see the argument
no,
though. What has he got?
too many injuries, unfortunately. He's got
For sure,
not
for
bad,
sure.
255 homers, 870 ribbies, and a
Well, yeah.
268. I thought his average would have been higher than that, but
Well,
kind of
you
got
know
hurt.
what though? You
But
know
by the
something.
time he was in his
Even if his average had stayed around 268, the sad thing is that he got hurt. Because if Kirk Gibson doesn't get hurt, and I feel confident in saying this, he lost so much of his career, and I'm sure if you broke it down, games played season by season, you can see that he's compromised. He's probably at least a 400 plus home run hitting guy in his career as far as home runs, and he's clearing 1,000 RBIs, so he's going to wind up with, like, how many times was he an All Star with all these injuries? Anyway, he was probably an All Star several times. He would have been an All Star several times more. Injuries killed this guy's chance at the Hall of Fame. Is, I guess, what I'm getting at. Too bad. What a winner.
and this cannot be right. They do not show him having any All Stars. Which how could that be right? I mean, he won the MVP.
Right. I'm not following
That's
that
got to
either.
be no. Yeah, that's got to be. I'm looking at Baseball Reference. 0 All Star, MVP, 2 World Series, Silver
Hmm.
Slugger, Manager of the Year. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, but no.
that's
I mean,
weird.
he only played 2 seasons where he hit 150 games.
Right. He was always
He
hurt,
was
and
hurt. He was hurt all the time.
it's interesting too when you said no All Star appearances. The only reason why I could believe that is when you look up Tim Salmon, who had a great career. I don't think he was ever an All Star. He's another one of them. I was like, what is this? What do you mean he was never even once an All Star? What's going on here?
Yeah,
So,
that is bizarre. All
all right, you
right.
want to recap the order?
Let's see. So we got Paul at number 1. We got Bing at number 2. We got Kirk at number 3. We got Frank Robinson at number 4. Man,
Right.
we got a Hall of
That
Famer at number 4. But
that was
those are
brutal.
yeah. I mean, those are not typical Frank Robinson numbers, though.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
That's brutal though. That was rough. That was a rough one.
All right. Catcher. Oof. Hall of Famer Mickey Cochran, 7 homers, 95 ribbies, 331.
Jesus.
You got Elrod Hendricks, 1241, 242. You got Lance Parrish, 33, 98, 237. And you got Jorge with 17, 63, and 268.
I think 1 and 2 should be obvious, despite number two's low batting average.
Yeah.
Just having a conversation today with someone about Lance Parrish, and Lance Parrish had a hell of a career, man. Uh, I don't care about the 237 batting average. I'm taking that. That gets the 2 spot. But what is with Cochran? What is with that?
Hall of Famer. Yeah. Great
95
Mickey
ribbies
Cochran.
and good God. I don't know if you remember, but in 1977 or 6 or whatever it was, Topps put out like Hall of Famers, like black and white cards to go with the regular, top set for that year. And I had a Mickey Cochran, and it had every year broken down, and I just marveled at it. I was like, oh my God, this guy was unbelievable. Growing up with Munson,
Lifetime. This is a catcher with a lifetime 320 average.
Mm-hmm.
And won 2 MVPs. I mean, he was, let's see, 10th, 18th, 4th, 1st, 13th, 8th, 9th. Then he had 15th, 1st, and 7th. I mean,
wow,
that's pretty damn good.
Wow. Yeah.
Consistent.
Incredibly. That's what I used to marvel at looking at the back of the card. So that's 1 and 2.
So we got obviously Mickey first.
Yeah. That's 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think
Georgie's
you got to give it to Jorge number 3, and then
Georgie's got to be third. It's a shame we're not getting Georgie a year or two later. You know what I mean? But because Georgie gets better and better as he goes. This is his first real dance. So. Elrod Hendricks. What do you remember about Elrod Hendricks? I remember he was a Yankee coach. I remember that he played briefly, I think, for us at the end of his career.
I remember he was very happy all the time. He could have been a pro golfer because he swung at everything in the dirt. Remember that?
Right.
Not a bad catcher though. You know, him and Andy Etchebarren were the two. The tag team there.
Yep, he fit the bill.
It worked. It worked, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. They won a title.
It worked. All right. The bench. Not to be confused with Johnny. So we got the A's were 15, 134, and 278. You got the 70 Orioles with 39 homers, 171, 262. 84 Tigers, 38, 198, 265. And the Yankees, 23, 148, 279. Pretty close.
Oh boy.
Detroit looks pretty good here. A lot of pop.
Compare to me the top 2 RBI producers on this list.
I mean for each team?
No, the top 2 RBI producers for the list.
Oh, yeah, okay. So you got the 84 Tigers with 198.
Yeah, that's
and then
insane.
you got the 70 O's with 171.
How many did the 98 Yankees have in RBIs?
Similar batting average, 265, 272. Yankees had the highest average at 279.
How many RBIs did the Yankees have?
148 and 23 homers.
Wow.
But I think that does not include Strawberry's numbers.
Detroit's got what was that?
Yeah.
Strawberry's numbers are
I don't think that, no, because...
Oh, that's right. That's right.
No, because he was the DH.
No, we can't have that. Darrell's got to be added to it. So here we go again. You know, because that's ridiculous. You don't omit Darryl Strawberry's numbers from a position. You know, they had him in the DH category. He's got to go into the bench category because we all know that he played plenty of games in the outfield and he played plenty of games at DH and he pinch hits sometimes. So he's a bench player. So do me a favor. Add 24 home runs to whatever they had that year, please. Is it 47 now as a total?
Straw was 2457, yeah.
Right. So you got 23 home runs and 24
2457. Now you're talking 47,205.
Against, what is the top numbers for Detroit? Because they were first.
They were 38, 198.
No, the Yankees win this. The Yankees win this because Darryl Strawberry is part of the bench and and then look at the batting average too. It's 279. What does it go down? Like maybe 2 percentage points because Darryl's average?
Yeah, a couple, maybe 275, 276.
No, sorry. That applies. Darryl Strawberry was a huge part of our team and he was a part of the bench. If he can't be in left field because he didn't get more starts than Chad Curtis, you're damn right he's on the bench. Agreed, Benny?
Yeah, no, I agree. No,
agreed. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
this is where it kind of gets a little wonky. You got to really Yeah, you can't just take. You can't just go. You got to
You
think a
can't
little bit
omit
outside
it.
the box.
You shouldn't omit
No.
it. You know what I'm saying? 24 homers and 57 RBIs. Plenty of them came from the bench spot. And if you're not going to include him in the starting lineup and you're not going to acknowledge his DH or pinch hitting roles, you have to acknowledge him as a bench player. He's part of the numbers. And it would be false information to not say he's part of the numbers. He is part of the numbers. So the
Right.
Yankees are first. The Yankees are first. Detroit is
Yankees
second.
first. Right.
Yeah.
I think we got to go with the Orioles third then, right? With the 171 ribbies.
That's correct.
And then, yeah, last but not least, bringing up the rear is the 29 A's. All right.
Yep. And I'm perfectly comfortable with that because I always looked at Darryl as a starter. But if Darryl that particular season wasn't played as a starter in the way it's broken down, Darryl's a bench player. The end. He's on the team.
Yeah.
Those home runs counted. Those runs counted. He's part of the bench.
No, agreed. All right.
Yeah.
We're starting pitching. These are all pretty good. 29 A's, 84 49 shutouts, 70 Tigers, 79 37 12, 84 Tigers, 72 43 4, and then the 98 Yankees, 79 35 and 7. You want to hear some of the pitchers for the 29 A's?
Let's do. You know what? Let's take the first two teams and compare their staffs, and we'll go from there. Go ahead. On this list, A's and
all right. All right. Let's see. 1929. There we go. All right, 1929 Philadelphia A's. What do we got?
I'm waiting for that name, but
You got Lefty Grove, 20 wins, 6 losses.
Lefty Grove,
shutouts,
unbelievable. Go on.
Led the league in ERA with 2.81.
Lefty Grove, great.
Then you got
pitcher.
Rube Wahlberg.
There he is.
Maybe
there he is.
Mark's grandfather.
What did he have that year, Rube?
You got 18-11.
Mm-hmm.
Rube Wahlberg, 18-11 with 3 shutouts. Good season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
George Earnshaw with 24-8.
What?
And a guy named Jack Quinn, 9.
What was the record of the last guy?
11-9.
Who the fuck went 24-6?
And the closer actually started 13. George Earnshaw.
What the hell? I've never even heard of him. Wow. I gotta hit the books harder, man. Have you heard of him? I had no clue he had that kind of year.
Let's take a quick look at him.
I had no idea he had that
I've heard the name, barely. He was
thank you.
6'4", 210 pounds. No, that was and for good reason. Actually though, that was the start of 3 consecutive 21 seasons. 24-8, 22-13, 21-7, and then 19-13, but he fell off the map after that.
Okay.
Total, he was 127 and 93. High ERA though, 4.38.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
4.38, a little bit on the high side. 18 shutouts.
Yeah.
Not a slouch.
Yeah.
No, but that was his season.
All right. So who are we going to put him up against first? What's the next rotation you got for me? That's a hell of a rotation, Benny. Those top 3, Benny, I'm telling you right now, those top 3 are going to be hard to beat.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard to beat.
Let's look at the O's.
Damn.
Yeah, this is I believe the year before the 420 game winners. But oh God, you got Jim Palmer 20-10 with 5 shutouts.
Beautiful.
You got Mike Cuellar with 24-8 with 4 shutouts.
Wow.
You got Dave McNally with 24-9.
What?
Right? And now you talk about those 3 guys.
Where's Dobson?
Palmer was 5th in the Cy. They didn't have him yet. Cuellar was 4th.
Oh, he wasn't there
I think they got him the next season. Cuellar was 4th, and McNally was 2nd in the Cy.
Unbelievable.
That's like mind-boggling.
Who's the fourth starter?
And then it drops off Jim Harden 6-5, Jim Harden and Tom Phoebus. So Harden was 6-5, Phoebus 5-5. I mean, it was all in the first three.
Beavis and Butthead? Very interesting.
Yeah, Phoebus, yeah. Come on, Phoebus.
Wow. All right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
You want to do the 84
God,
Tigers?
I don't even have paper with me tonight. This is terrible. I wanted to jot shit down. Go on. Well, right now, between those two,
let's look at the Tigers.
I just said how hard it was to beat, but I got to lean towards Baltimore on that. Oh, my God. There's 320 games. There's 320 game winners, Benny. All right, who's next? Man.
You got the 84 Tigers. This is not going to be as pronounced, I think. Yeah, not bad, though. You got Morris at 19-11. You got Dan Petrie. Remember him? At 18-8. You got Milt Wilcox with 17-8. And you got Juan Berenger at 11-10. Dave Rozema 7-6.
All right.
Nice rotation.
Yeah.
Not the Orioles, though.
No.
And we got.
All right.
Let's look at the Yankees.
So far, I've got the Orioles in first. I got the A's in second.
This is a tough one. When I looked at this,
I got the Tigers in third. Okay. So far.
Well, let's see. We got. I don't know. I think you got to bump up the Yankees here. You got Pettit was 16-11. Wells was 18-4. They're on the side. Cone 20-7.
Yeah.
And by the way, Wells threw 5 shutouts.
Right.
And he was fourth in the side. You got Arabu was 13-9, and El Duque was 12-4.
Yeah. No, as far as depth goes, full rotation, full starting staff, the Yankees win this.
And then,
they still win this.
And then you throw in Ramiro Mendoza at 10-2.
Thank you. Yeah, he was the 6th option, by the way, or something like that. No.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, you can have 320 games. So, Benny, let's make this clear. We are bumping 320 game winners because as far as the overall insane amount of depth that the Yankees starting staff had in 1998 is better than their 3. Because
you had McNally, Cuellar, and Palmer, but there's a huge drop-off after that.
Okay, and to hammer it home, though, I'm sorry, I have to say it, and it is judged by the season, not by your career body of work. However, I'm going to take, even though those 2 names from the Orioles won 20 games that year, yada, yada, 20-plus games, yada, 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 I'm going to take the 1998 versions of Andy, of David Wells, of David Cone, of El Duque. I'm going to take that. And like you said, if we feel like we need another option, we've got 10-2 Ramiro Mendoza. 10-2. Do you remember what he did that year?
That's your 6th starter.
Right. And we've got our miserable failure, Hideki Irabu with 13-9 in case everything goes to shit. No. The Yankees win this. It's too damn bad. And the 1998 Yankees would have beat the shit out of anybody, but we're going to find out when we get done with this if that's true. But right now, when it comes to the starting rotation, you do not want to face the 1998 New York Yankees. You don't. So, I guess in conclusion...
No, because they're going to wear you out. I mean...
Yeah. No, there was just too much coming from too many different places. And they were all freaking championship material. David Cone was the hired gun of the 90s. Agreed? Andy Pettit is one of the all-time winners in the postseason. Agreed? Then you've got David Wells. The 1998 season for David Wells was ridiculous. How great he was. Didn't he? He throws the perfect game. He's got the shot. I mean, it's just absurd the season he had. 18-4, 5 shutouts.
He lost 4 games out of 30 starts, and he threw 5 shutouts.
Yeah. El Duque comes in off the rowboat, for God's sakes, and goes 12-4. And trust me, the 12-4 really was like a 23-6 year, if you understand what I'm saying. That's what that 12-4 was.
He only got 21 starts.
He was incredible.
Only 21 starts.
Yeah, he was going to win a lot more games if he had been there for a full 35 starts. Of course he was. And when he came off the boat, it was like El Duque. What do you mean? It's Louis Tiant all over again. Nobody knows what to do with him. You're out. I told you I went to see that game on purpose. Sometimes you pick a game where you'll pick a scrub team because you just don't want to go out to the ballpark, pay those prices, do that long drive, and watch them lose. So you'll pick a scrubby team. Not me. I picked the Seattle Mariners in '98 with Griffey and Buhner, and that loaded lineup. And El Duque made them look like fools, like absolute fools. And he's your fourth option. You know what I'm saying? Because he really is. After you get done with David and Andy and David, he's your fourth option. Let's face it.
Your fifth and your sixth starters combined are 22 and 6.
Thank you. Thank you. No, there's too much depth on the 1998 New York Yankees pitching staff. It was brilliantly constructed. Brian Cashman, you got to give him his due. I mean, in the beginning, the man was a wizard. And that team was incredible.
We take the O's in second or the A's in second?
Well, I mean, if you look at who's really out there on the mound, look, I can't do it further because it's not like the Philadelphia A's entire roster is so much better than the rest of the Baltimore Orioles' entire roster. So do I penalize them for the 320 game winners in this case? So let me ask you. We know that Grove is a Hall of Famer, right? We know how great Grove was. Do you realize what Rude Waddle was? I mean, the stories I've read about him, all right? They really have two unbelievable studs, and then they've got this guy who went 24 and 6. And from what I learned today with you on the program, goes back to back seasons, 29, 30, 31 with 20 plus wins, who I've never even heard of, and does this. Do I penalize them and
Jimmy, just to clarify though, it's let me just, maybe I didn't read it right. Hang on. This is not Rube Waddell. This is Rube Wahlberg.
Okay, now I feel better. See what happens when I don't have, I got these shades on and I can't see what everybody else is seeing. That's hilarious.
Not a bad pitcher though. Rube Wahlberg was.
Rube Wahlberg.
Yeah, not a bad pitcher. Okay. He pitched 15 years in the bigs.
How many wins did this guy get?
Yeah, this a decent pitcher, not bad.
Okay, why the hell am I thinking?
Total 155.
See what I got to start getting prescription sunglasses. This is awful. Yeah, but I mean, the Orioles go next.
Not Waddell, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, the Orioles go next.
Waddell was a stud.
Yeah, wasn't he a lunatic too?
The O's, and then I believe he was.
Yeah, he was like a total lunatic.
And so, all right, I want to make sure I got this right. So we got the 98 Yankees, number 1, 70 O's, number 2, the 29 A's, number 3, and then the 84 Tigers, 4.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. All right.
Sounds right to me.
This is going to be a rare occasion where we got relief. We got Bill. I can't read his last name. Shores. 1167.
Are you sure?
For the yeah, Bill. Am I sure about Shores? Yeah. And then we got Pete Rickert. Remember him back in the day? Good lefty. 7-2. 13 saves. You got Guillermo Willie Hernandez, 9-3, 32 saves, won the Cy and won the MVP. And you got Mo with a typical 3-0, 36 saves.
This is the only time I will ever give it to somebody else besides Mo. You have to. You have to. You kind of have to.
Yeah.
When you're the MVP,
that was his. Yeah,
that's ridiculous. That's absurd. So sorry. Mo to me is next, and then we can slug it out with the other two. What's their numbers again? Because Mo is next. That's that.
Rickard was 7-2 with a 13, and let me hang on one second. Let me get a little bit more info on this other guy.
The other guy.
I never
What's his
heard of
name?
the guy. Never heard of the guy. Let me see. Philadelphia A's. Here we go. Bill Shores. Yeah. I'm sure about that. 11-6, 7 saves. He was also a spot starter, though.
Right. Right.
I mean, they didn't really have a closer back then. They designated him as the closer, but
Yeah. I'm going with the 7-2
I
fella.
mean, most of his appearances were in relief. 11-6. Yeah, Rickard.
Yeah.
That's 3. All right. Last pretty close, I think.
Is it? Oh God.
Last but not least, manager got no. Well, we'll
This
see.
is gonna be
Connie
very
Mack,
interesting.
104.46.
Okay.
Yeah, Weaver, 108.54. All great seasons. Sparky,
All right.
104.58. Joe, 114.48.
Joe.
Joe won. Yeah.
Yeah. 125 and 50. Nope. The greatest baseball machine I've ever seen. The greatest baseball team I've ever seen. And again, no Bobby Bonds type, no Reggie Jackson type, no Mickey Mantle type in the lineup. That was one of the most awesome things about the great 1998 New York Yankees was that was a baseball team. We hammer it
Right.
home every time we match them up. I can't wait to see the final tally. But that was the greatest all around baseball team. There was plenty of guys that hit for power. It wasn't like we didn't have power hitters. We just didn't have Mickey Mantle or Barry or McGuire or Sosa or Griffey Jr. There was nobody like that in our lineup. We just had some great ball players that did different things
We
to make it
had
to make it
balance,
complete.
right?
Yeah, we did. We did.
Is that a good word? Balance?
Yeah, we did. We were. That was the most beautifully distributed team I've ever seen. They just had everything about them. They just pitched in, and it was a
When you
machine.
got your sixth starter is 12-2, when you got a guy coming off the bench with 24 home runs, I mean, geez, come on.
Yep, a lot of veterans, some young kids, a little bit of everything. Mendoza was a kid. I mean, we brought up 10-2.
Right.
Mendoza was our Dick Tidrow that year. Like he'd spot start you, or he'd come out of the pen, or whatever he needed to do. He was pulling a Tidrow. I was like, wow, where did he come from? Like Tidrow went 11-4 in 1978 out of the pen, spot starting, dirty Dick Tidrow, man. Deep, deep,
Right.
deep.
Dirt.
So Joe's
Dirt.
number
Wasn't that his
one.
nickname? Dirt.
Yeah, Dirt. Yeah, or Gruff. I think that was another nickname for him, or something like that.
Yeah.
Guy had a hell of a mustache, by the way, Benny.
Oh, yeah.
Dirty Dick.
Mount Rushmore
Hey, you know
of
what? That could be a
mustaches.
good title for your next adult film, Dirty Dick.
There you
What do you
go.
think? What do you think?
That's like Dick the Bruiser was on the cover of a wrestling magazine, and he said, "I can lick any man alive." I don't know if I brag about that, but
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Now? Why am I saying to myself that next has got to be the manager of the Big Red Machine? Why am I saying that, Benny? Help me out.
Because you love the guy, but I mean, just because of
Is
his
that the
body of
is that
work,
the
I mean,
next
it
is
is
that the next most impressive thing, or is it more impressive to be the great Connie Mack and put together a squad that can dethrone for the next 2 seasons Ruth and Garrick?
right. Yeah,
So
you're
where do you
talking like
think?
vintage. You're talking
Yeah,
vintage, and Garrett came up at the end of I think the end of the 24 season, but by
yeah. By
29,
25, when he was inserted, forget about it. You know.
right.
So
Well, by
yeah,
27, he was killing it.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It was So you got Connie Mack,
Yeah, if you're knocking over Murderers Row,
right?
that's a
And
damn good
by the
accomplishment.
way, I looked up some stuff on the A's history, and Connie, the original owner, had passed away. Connie was involved with them for years and years, but what I didn't know is that when the owner passed away, he passed away in around the mid-20s. When he passed away, the ones that took over left Connie for the first time, believe it or not, fully in charge of able to run baseball operations because they didn't want to deal with it. They gave it to Connie, and Connie put together that team that overthrew for the next 2 seasons, the mighty New York
Right.
Yankees. So I got to go with Connie at 2. So
It's
what is?
sad because a lot of people remember like an 85-year-old Connie Mack in 1950 wearing a suit, hobbling to the pitching mound. But I mean, the guy was a damn good manager back in the day.
Yeah, and he was there forever.
50
He
years.
is one of the all-time great managers. And he reminds me of? He always, by the way, he was not allowed on the field during pregame because of the way he dressed. He always wore the suit with the hat. He reminds me in a very classy way of Tom Landry from the Dallas Cowboy lore.
Oh yeah,
If you know, if you
good
know what I'm
analogy.
saying. Yeah, Connie Mack was really, really very visually memorable, even as a child. When I first would see pictures of Connie Mack, I'm like, wow. So that's old time baseball. When you look at him, you can actually feel old time baseball. It must have been something when he was around doing his thing. And his thing was to put together this mighty team that wound up on this list. So, when you look at the enormity of it all, Connie Mack could be argued to be number one, but I'm still going to go with Joe. But I could see why somebody would say, "What are you talking?" He not only was the manager, he was basically the architect of the resurrection of the Philadelphia A's, who were champions in 1910, 1911, 1913. They had done stuff earlier on, but he resurrected them and was the architect of it. That's very impressive, bro.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
So what's that leave us
But
with? It leaves us with
we
Sparky.
got Earl and Sparky. Yeah,
Wow.
this is a coin flip as far as I'm concerned.
Well, here's the question. What's more impressive? To pick your team up that should have won the previous year in the World Series and go and win it, or to be the manager of the Big Red Machine and somehow go to the other league and take the Detroit Tigers to a season that was so convincingly similar in many ways to the 76 Reds? What's
Well,
more
and
impressive?
when did they? I'm trying to think now. When did they win the pennant before that? Was 68, right?
Yeah.
And before that, I don't know when the heck it was.
Did they yeah, you'd have to go back. Yeah.
I mean, you're
You'd have to
talking like
yeah,
it's got to be
you'd
50
have to go
years.
back. Yeah, you'd have to
And
go
then
back.
and how many have they won since?
That would be none.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, just really impressive what he did that year.
yeah, I got to give it to Sparky. No, and I love Earl Weaver, by the way. My favorite YouTube clip of any manager throwing a tirade is the one with Earl Weaver and a particular umpire. His name eludes me now, but the argument that they had is so legendary. Where the insults are just going back and forth. The only reason you and your crew are here is to fuck us. And then the
Did
umpire's
he
like,
really
"Oh,
say that?
yeah." He's like, "The only reason that you and your crew are here is to fuck us." And then the umpire's like, "Oh, get out of here, fuck you." And it's what you got to look it up. It's one of the greatest things of all. And he's like, it gets personal. He's like, "I've won a lot more games than I've lost," and he's like, not in the World Series. The umpire's like, he's like, "In 5 years when I'm retired, I'm going to be in the fucking Hall of Fame." He's like, "Yeah, for what? Fucking up World Series?" The umpire's saying this to Earl. It's hilarious. It's one of the greatest arguments I've ever seen. Earl Weaver was hilarious.
Yeah, no, he did it with what's I can't even think of it. Uh, what's that word? Elan, Elan, like with
Mm-hmm.
panache, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There had been a balk call. And Eddie Murphy, that's hilarious. A young Eddie Murray is arguing with the umpire before Earl gets there. And he's like, he had his foot on the rubber. He's like, his foot was off the rubber. Earl runs up and immediately, "Oh, bullshit." It was like, oh, it was just overdrive from the second he got there.
Yeah, he goes from 0 to lunatic in like one and a
Oh,
half seconds.
it was
So,
great.
Jimmy, while we were chatting, because
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at this,
Okay.
I did the tally.
All right.
All right, all right, and
Nervous.
now in fourth place
Yeah.
with 36 points
Yeah.
are the 70 Orioles.
Okay.
In In third place with 31 points are the 84 Tigers. In
Okay.
second place with 30 points are the 29 A's, and the Yankees, 98 Yankees, 25, retain the title.
So the A's at the end of the day was, before we went into this, that was the team I feared the most. The A's turned out to be the next great team after the Yankees, huh?
Well, you know what kind of really hurt them was the most of the infield, besides
Yeah, the
Jimmy
infield
Fox.
killed them.
The
Yeah,
infield
the
killed them, and
infield killed
then
them. Yep.
the bench, weak bench, and
Yeah.
weak
Oh yeah.
relief pitching, which you really can't,
Right.
But yeah, I mean they were strong in a lot of cat. I mean, obviously first base they took, left, center, catcher. They were good in a lot of positions, but they were weak in several, and
Right.
that's what kind of did them in. Where the Yankees
Right.
were very consistent. The Yankees only had 1-4 in left field with Chad Curtis,
Right.
and
Right.
they only had two threes.
Oh, there it is again.
Yeah,
They just
yeah,
have
and
the
one of the
strongest.
threes is Tino Martinez with that unbelievable season.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, the Yankees retained, and it wasn't as close as I thought it was going to be. When I was putting this stuff together, I'm thinking, holy crap, this might be an upset.
Right. I did fear that. I was very concerned. When I was looking at the grids before, I didn't think that the Yankees were adding up to where they wound up, but there they are. We weren't imagining things in 1998, were we? It was a
No, I mean
bulldozer.
you have you got Jeter, you got I mean you're good all over, but
We
you
have
got O'Neill in
productivity
right
at every
field.
position. Yeah, there's
You,
productivity at
you,
every position.
you got the great bench. You got the unbelievable starting pitching. You got
Right.
Torrey as manager. You got
Right.
Mo. So I mean, if you got Mo as the closer, you're going to
Right.
probably be number one 95 times out of 100, maybe 99 times out of 100.
Right.
I think this might be
Right.
the only. This may be the only example where Mo is not number one.
Well, it has to be in this case. When you win the Cy Young and the MVP, we're not going to ignore that. It is about the season.
Yeah.
Look,
No,
we've proven that we're sticking to our formula. We really are.
right.
And I do think that this is the definitive way to figure out stuff instead of getting your head constipated with all this extra information. These are the key stats that have mattered for over a century. What we
Right.
go over. We do cover the overall ball player. How was he in the field? How many times was he an all-star? We're aware of this stuff when we do this head-to-head stuff. More importantly, were they an all-star of the year we're talking about? Or did they win a gold glove the year with their one of our categories tonight? We had someone who won the gold glove. That put him over. Was it Lou? It might have been Lou Whitaker. It was like, nope, nope, it's Lou at the next position, whatever, because he won the
Right.
gold glove.
And we bumped Belanger, I think, at short because of that.
Yeah. Well, 218 though. Ugh.
Yeah. No, we didn't bump Belanger. We didn't. But I think we elevated Lou. Yeah,
Yeah.
we bumped Lou. Lou is number one at second
Right.
base.
Exactly. Exactly. And Belanger, by the way, as we reported, didn't win a gold glove that year
No, he
anyway.
did not win that year. Won 8 of them, but not that year.
Right. Not that year. So
And
no,
he was
it's
pretty
an
he was
excellent
pretty
way.
hideous.
It's an excellent way of breaking it down. It's the way I always processed the back of my baseball cards, Benny. And the head-to-head stuff is can be applied to so many different things, and I just love the concept of doing that. So when you've got the basic stats that really count instead of all of that nauseating head spinning nonsense that they try to give you nowadays, I just saw a YouTube video where the guy actually admitted this new Jaws stat for defensive catchers. He doesn't fully understand it. So why? Or if you need an explanation, a deep, detailed explanation as to what a stat means, then I don't even want to know about your stat. You understand what I'm getting at? Because I know what home runs, RBIs, average, runs scored, walks, defense, gold gloves, all stuff. I know what it means. I don't need your extra launch angle nonsense. This is the way to do it. And it does make
Yeah.
sense that the 98 Yankees are better than the 29 A's, but the 29 A's are better than the other two teams we covered. And by the way, the 84 Tigers season is better than what the Orioles did in 1970. I could say
Yeah,
that
I mean
much
that was
because
an incredible season for the Tigers.
yeah, they barreled. They barreled. They really did.
Right.
They ran right over everybody. Even my
Yeah,
beloved Padres I've learned to love for some stupid reason. That '84 Padres team, probably because of the guys that were on
no,
it,
they
Nettles
were
and
solid.
Gossage, and yeah, Nettles, Gossage, Garvey. I think Raleigh Fingers was on that team. They were pretty cool. They got
Yeah.
their butts whipped, though. I think the Tigers closed them out in 5 games or something. They got their butts whipped.
That could have been their year, but yeah,
Yep.
this could be their year. They're doing pretty well. Oh, I
Well,
wonder who's going to get past the Dodgers.
They started the season off great by smacking the Braves all over the place. So that
Right.
was a good start. So obviously they're feeling it. But you know, if you're a Padres fan, I'm sure they're like, "Show me, don't tell me." It's got to be rough
Yeah.
being a Padres fan, Benny. I don't know. That sounds like a rough task.
Oh no, the Yankees are losing 3-2 against the eight. No, that can't be right. The Colorado Rockies are 8-42. Can that
What?
be right?
Well, it could be, but is it?
Yeah.
Wow, that's horrendous, bro.
Yeah, 3-2 end of the seventh. Let me see what's going on here. Another home run by Judge. Back over. He's right at 400.
Right.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yep. Especially now, today, in this day and age, to be seeing
And this
something like that.
17 homers, 45 ribbies. Wow. In 49 games. Yeah, 8 and
Amazing.
42.
Wow.
The Rockies. Yeah,
Well,
that's kind of embarrassing if we lose that game.
well, they're clearly on their way to being the worst team of all time, and yes, we don't need to be losing that game.
Right. Right. All
Ugh.
right. Well, Jim, I got up at 4:30 this morning to finish those tables, and all the while thinking that it was going to be another great competition. I thought it was pretty good.
It
It
was
was touch and go
fantastic.
there for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, it always is with these because I'm not adding up the math as I'm doing it. I'm just like feeling out what we're saying, and I'm like, oh God, oh God. I was nervous for the '98 Yankees going into it, but it
There
all makes
was.
sense.
I
It all
was
makes
kind
sense.
of looking while you were chatting. I was kind of looking real quick and trying to add up the numbers, and there was a point about midway where the
Hmm.
A's were slightly ahead,
That's what
and I
I
thought,
thought.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I
I
was.
thought like
That's what I was
we,
sensing.
we may be
Yeah, and I'm
crowning a
very.
new champion, but
Yeah. Well, nope. We're like Rocky Marciano, the 1998 New York Yankees. I do not expect the loss,
we're going to wind up
but
being 49-0, right?
yeah. I don't expect the loss, but that's why we do these, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot more interesting matchups in the future shows.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're a minute and 42, not a minute and 42, an hour and 42 in. So I'm gonna wrap this up in another great episode of the Baseball Bums in the record books. If you love chatting about the great game of baseball like we do, you're in the right place. And if you're looking for some great wrestling and even some epic non-wrestling content, please hit the like and subscribe button and become a part of the Monty and the Farrell family. Speaking for Jimmy and Mike, I can tell you with 100% conviction, family matters, just like it did to Steve Urkel. So, Mr. Farrow, would you do the honors and take us home?
You've been watching the Baseball Bums, and we'll see you all next week. Later.
Later.